Do you still say your prayers? No, Mom. I never said my prayers, never once. They scared me.
I was pressing the wrong button at the beginning there. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Blood Splatter Chatter. We are live. My name is Verno. I'm here with Steph, and I'm here with Stu. And we're talking about one of, if not probably the most hyped up horror movie of the year so far, Longlegs 2024, directed by Oz Perkins and starring Nicolas Cage and Maika Monroe. So first, what up? This was actually Mr. Stu's pick. Suggested we do this one. I was happy. First of all, appreciate both of you guys going to the theater. So that's awesome. We're able to get together and do this. But what up, Stu?
What up? What up? Yeah. Thank you for taking this one on. Went to the theater actually today with the whole fam. The wife and the kids went to see Despicable Me 4, and I went by myself into Longlegs with one other person in the theater. It was ideal, dude. It was amazing. Like, I sat down, nobody else in the theater. I was like, that's just such a great feeling. So yeah, it's been a minute since I've been back to the theater, probably since a Marvel movie, man. So
oh wow.
Yeah, it was this was great though. We'll get into it. Not everything I wanted it to be, but I still had a lot of fun with my viewing experience today.
Hell yeah, dude. I did not watch any of the trailers leading up to this. There was a huge marketing campaign. I'm swiping past Longlegs shit constantly, avoiding as much as I possibly could. But
they got me on Instagram. That's how it came. That's how it came into my purview for sure.
It's everywhere. Oh, it's insane. Yeah. And then since it dropped, there's been Longlegs reactions, fan theories, reviews left and right. Like it's very, very hyped up. But how was your theater experience, Steph?
It was good. I saw it Sunday, day before my birthday. But
happy birthday, by the way. Late birthday.
21.
Oh, I had to do the math today and make sure your birthday wasn't on the 14th. I'm like, no, it was the 15th. Okay, we're good. We're good.
But I liked it. I was thinking about this to you not watching trailers, when I was thinking about this today. I was like, I'll see a movie without seeing a trailer for it, but for me to like, I really love watching movie trailers. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's like I like trying to piece the movie together, and like I don't know, there's a lot of fun in that. But then it's like I was looking at my approach to, like, say, comic books or gaming. Like, I'll go into those bitches blind, you don't need to tell me too much about them, just let me do what they do. But it's weird. I was thinking about that, the contrast between that and movies. Like, I will watch a movie without seeing a trailer for it, but in my case, sometimes, like, I need to see a trailer to, I will watch a movie blind, but to get my interest engaged, I need to, like, see a trailer to see, like, get a feel for it, see what they're going for. But I did watch the trailers for this. This is kind of what made me want to see. I was like, okay,
the trailers did it for me for sure.
Yeah, I was like, it looks badass. It looks different. Kind of like gave me kind of reminded me of that one Ethan Hawke movie that came out not like a couple years ago. Not verbatim. No, where he's like black phone.
Oh, yeah.
And just something that's like, it's got sinister overtones, but it's not too harsh. There's nothing too crazy in it. But I've seen a lot of people compare this to like Silence of the Lambs. I'd say that's an apt comparison, but I would say mixed in with a little bit of a seven, just a little bit. Seven and Silence Meets the Lambs, I think, is like a good mixture of this.
With a little bit more supernatural. Well, let me say up front, just because it is a new movie, I do want to do the beginning of it spoiler free. Like, when we do our overall thoughts after we're going to talk a little Nick Cage and all that shit, but I want to do like a non-spoiler review first, like our overall thoughts, and then we'll spoil it from then on. But I will say it's more, a little more supernatural than Silence of the Lambs. And Oz Perkins, he said that was basically he's made all these more artsy films. I don't know, Steph, if you've seen any of them. He did Gretel and Hansel, not to be confused with Hansel and Gretel, right? That
Jeremy Renner.
No, the other one. I think that's the Hansel and Gretel one. Yeah, he did the one I hear the most about is The Black Coat's Daughter, which is, it's a very atmospheric movie. But listening to an interview with him, he basically he looked at this like, okay, I've made these really artsy films. He said, I was never really trying to make money off them or make a big hit before. He's like, I'm going to try to make something more accessible. So he's like, what did good that I think is cool that hasn't been done great since? And he's like, Silence of the Lambs was badass. In his opinion, there hasn't been another top of the line great like thriller like that since then. So he started out with like, we're going to make Silence of the Lambs. He told his writing partners and the crew, like, this is what we're going for, but we're going to make our own thing. And then by the end, it ended up being, you know, much weirder than Silence of the Lambs, I would say.
Sure.
The beginning of it is very Silence of the Lambs. The setup.
It is. Agreed.
Let me just say this is so random, but if they ever do Professor Pig for the next Batman movie, hire Nicolas Cage, bro. He would be a great Professor Pig. Like, that's all I kept seeing, watching him as like the dude or whatever it was. But Nicolas Cage is a gem. I will say that.
Well, let's get into him a little bit. Steph, you and I had the pleasure of covering Dream Scenario, which I think that was 2023. It came out, maybe it was earlier this year. It might have been 2024.
It might have been like the end of 2023 or earlier. I'm confused.
Right.
I'm a little.
Well, it's what is so confusing about like the amount of movies that this dude puts out is mind blowing. He has another one that just came out on Shudder the same day that this one came out called Arcadia. That's getting decent reviews. It's not nearly getting the hype that this is, obviously. But I remember saying on a show, I think it might have been DHS, I had this like memory. I'm like, didn't Nicolas Cage get ripped off by his manager? Do you remember me bringing that up, Steph? I remember being like, I remember hearing these stories, and that's why he does all these movies. So I looked into it today. And yeah, like 9-10 years ago, or no, actually, I think it was in 2009. His manager at the time, like Nicolas Cage accused him of stealing $5 million from him outright. And that he didn't pay like $5 to $6 million in taxes. He did all these shady business maneuvers in his name, and it cost him millions and millions of dollars. And that is part of the reason why we see Nicolas Cage in so many goddamn movies. The other reason is he spends money like a maniac. I don't know if you guys have ever.
I was looking at his trajectory today after gearing up for this, prepping, and I was like, it is 20, like it was like 2000 and I'd say 11, 12 when he started to do these movies that maybe you've never heard of, but they're still coming, like indie films, still going to theaters, maybe short releases. But it was 2014. You go to Wikipedia, and in 2014, you just see a sleigh of fucking video on demand releases.
Dude, he did. I counted it. He did 26 between 2011 and 2017. I think he did in 2011. I think he did 5. Like he did like 4 or 5 movies came out in 1 year. Like, bro, he was on it.
You gotta respect the work, bro.
Totally, and a lot of horror movies too. He's done. He's done Mandy. He did Dream Scenario. He did this one.
Was that? Have you guys seen Pig?
No, but I heard that's supposed to be pretty good. That was made by Neon. You saw it?
Okay.
Yes.
No, I want to see that. I haven't seen that yet. I'm curious.
Highly recommend that to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. He definitely carries that movie, and it's got, you know, he's a former chef, so it's near and dear to my heart. But it's fantastic, man. It's, you think it's going to be one thing, but it's like it's another. It's a story of, you know, loss and love, and he's fantastic in that, dude. That was going to be one of my big mentions towards the end of his filmography.
Nice, dude. The other thing I just wanted to mention about his crazy spending habits, I hadn't heard any of this. I didn't know that he's like a maniac. He's bought a $3 million island in the Bahamas. He owns a bunch of different mansions. One that's like $25 million, another $15 million. He is at one point, he bought a T-Rex head, an actual like T-Rex fucking skull for almost $300,000, and then later had to return it to the government where it was stolen from at one point.
Wow.
He spent like I think it was like $150,000, and in I believe it's New Orleans, in a cemetery there, he has a giant pyramid-shaped tomb that he will one day be buried in. That he wants
in New Orleans.
He wants it to be an attraction that people come and like check out.
I'm sure it will be, dude.
Didn't he spend like crazy amounts of money on, like, I know he named his son like Kal-El or some shit like that. He's a big Superman fan.
Yes, he's got like $150,000 comic book collection.
Yeah. He's a fan.
So
he voiced Kal-El in the Teen Titans movie.
Right. He's in the Spider-Man movie.
And of course played him.
This is, by the way, his biggest, I'm not sure in how long, but this is one of his biggest opening weekends for a box office, I think, of all time. outside of it might be his biggest one in like 20 years outside of animated films, which would be the Spider-Verse one, which, you know, obviously that's that. But it just like a Nicolas Cage movie, which we could debate whether this is or not. He's not in the movie a whole hell of a lot. He leaves his stamp on it and on cinema history and horror history in a way, but it's not, you know, it's more of a Maika Monroe movie, and we'll get into her. But Stu, as I said before, I just want to know, like, when you think Nicolas Cage, like, what's the first movie that comes to your mind?
Man, Raising Arizona for sure. Like that was,
I knew you guys were gonna say that.
I fucking love
initial Manic Energy. Yeah, fucking fantastic in that. Like all that first wave with Vampire's Kiss, Moonstruck, Wild at Heart, fucking like amazing. I love how he's coming from. He's still trying to figure it all out, right? Then he gets into kind of movie star mode. One of his best performances ever in '92, Leaving Las Vegas. Yeah, he literally like more or less becomes an alcoholic for that movie. And that one's just affecting in all the wrong ways, man. Some of those final scenes with Elizabeth Shue in the hotel and him just drinking himself to death and finding somebody to do it with it's crazy. He was fantastic in that, man. And then he had like he was the action star. We got The Rock and
Con Air, baby.
Con Air, dude.
Con
Air is Snake Eyes, Gone in 60 Seconds.
Gone in 60 Seconds. For whatever reason, that one always comes to my mind. It was such a badass movie. I feel like he probably did like crazy roles before Face Off that I am not privy to and don't remember. But Face Off, the one is to me like the first one where I remember like crazy Nick Cage, like with the eyes and just like over the top.
Bro, the way he was channeling John Travolta, like, listen to me, I'm your father. Like he literally sounded like John Travolta, bro. I was like, wow, like this dude's on another level, man.
And that's the thing, like that speaks to Nick. I think he always, you're always going to get a performance out of him, and it's going to be unexpected. It's not something you're going to be ready for. It's going to be something worth watching, whether it's good or whether he's in a movie that's good or bad. His performance is going to be something you want to tune in for, and that's what I love about him.
At least memorable for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, but like, all right. So on my list, all right. So yeah, then we're in the 2011, like Link was talking about, 2011 to 2017 range. I struggled to find any movie that I could talk about in that.
Yeah.
So, but I do real quick before I get to like this third act of his career. I just want to shout out a couple random roles. Big Daddy and Kick-Ass, fucking fantastic.
Yes.
Fu Manchu and Grindhouse. Y'all remember that? Just for a second.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was like that one of those trailers, those mock trailers.
It was in the trailer just for a split second appearance, and then of course the voice of Spider-Man Noir and the Spider-Verse movies. Like I love those three, like low-key Nick Cage roles. But dude, this to me, it's all about the third act of his career, right? We start with Mandy, I think, which was a fantastic film. I don't know if y'all seen that. Pig.
Dude, can I just time out for a second? Stu, you always act like I've never seen a horror movie. What's a Freddy Krueger? And then so many times you'll mention these movies that are like kind of a deep cut, or at least like not super popular that you've seen, but I'm just calling you on your bullshit.
Fair enough. What is a Freddy Krueger though? For real. I haven't seen Renfield, but it looked amazing. Dream Scenario. Y'all hit the nail on the head with that one. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I don't know if y'all seen that with Pascal. Fantastic. Yeah. That was like a meta role for him. Look at his career. It was so good, dude. And then of course this one, where he just levels up once again, dude. But like I said, a guy I've loved for generations, literally since the late 80s. I've been watching this guy on screen entertaining me. I love what you said. I didn't know all that about his expenses and his I saw one of those 60 Minutes with him where she walked through his house and he had all these wild ass reptiles and dino eggs and shit like that. And I knew he was a nut, but I didn't realize. I just love the way that dude lives his life.
His spending habits. I remember in 2002, it was it was 60 Minutes. So someone did some interview with him, and they're walking around with Michael Jackson. He's like, "I'll take this. I'll take that." He's not even looking at price tags. And this is an expensive. Oh, I want that. And that's how I feel like Nick Cage is.
But louder. I want that. I want that.
And give me that.
Just coke eyes. Oh yeah. But a legend, dude. So yeah, that's hard to sum up a career like that. I don't I'd love to. I should have counted all the movies total. It's got to be a staggering number, but I just love what he's doing now. Now he's in it really just for the love of the game, and I feel like he's really picking roles that speak to him. Yeah, dude.
I've never seen that either. I hear nothing but terrible things.
Yeah, that one's rough.
Angry straight white male, which I'm afraid to even read what you have to say. It sounds terrifying. I saw this movie on Tuesday with my wife and daughter. They both gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I was more on the 6.5 out of 10 range, which was fair ratings. Obviously, we'll get into those at the end. But I've just read some reviews earlier, just looking at comments too on posts about it, like big posts about it. And it's so crazy. Like one of the best movies of all time. Yeah. Garbage. It's shit. All over the place. Terrible. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's one of those. But what isn't one of those right now? Like almost every movie that comes out falls into that, the best or the worst.
Absolutely. Very true.
But Stephanopoulos, same question to you. Like, what's and expand, obviously, but like the first movie that comes to your mind when you think Nicolas Cage. What is it? What's up to the chat, by the way? I'm feel like I'm neglecting you guys. Nick, James felt up in this bitch. Inja, the Ninja, Sale, Road Collecting. Appreciate you guys. We'll get into the review a little further very shortly. But Link, my man, Nicolas Cage.
I do enjoy Raising Arizona. That was something I saw in high school. Where, when I discovered my Coen Brothers love.
Who directed that? Oh, okay,
that's Coen Bros. Yep. Yeah. But for me, I'm like Con Air, The Rock, Nick Cage. That's the Nick Cage with the fucking mullet and the white beater. That's Nick Cage that I see. How Do I starts playing? Just classic movie. But Stu's named all the great ones there, but some of the lesser known ones that I think were really fun. Adaptation. If you guys have ever seen that.
Shit, I forgot all about. Dude, such a fantastic movie, man.
That was, I think, for me, the first one that I was like, "What the fuck is Nick Cage doing?" At least one of his like artsy films that I was, you know what I mean. One of the first that I saw.
Yeah,
bro, that scene he has with Brian Cox where he stands up and asks him about like the movie where nothing really happens and Brian Cox just roasts him. That's one of my favorite scenes ever. Yeah, he plays twin brothers in that. Like he's so good. So good in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, these are they're not his best, but he always gives a solid performance. Matchstick Men, I think that was with Ridley Scott and Sam Rockwell. I think is his name.
That was a great pick, dude. I love that movie.
Either The Weatherman or The Family Man. I always get it was a nice little like family this man kind of
Taya Leone, where he realized he was taking advantage of the life he had and
wants it back type. I really liked that movie as a kid. But I don't know, from fucking Big Daddy, like even if it's like a bit role, Nick Cage always manages to stand out. He's always gonna give a worthwhile performance. Well, even let it be some of these like video on demand movies that I might have seen one or two, just being bored. But I put them off initially. I'm like, oh fuck, I'll watch it. I'm like, it was solid. And Nick Cage gives a good performance, like he has like this energy to him that he can manage. Like his name alone will salvage a really shit film. Like where you're like, well, Nick Cage gave a good performance and it's not that bad.
I bet like I could see a scenario with this film where he just injects so much life into it by coming on board. Yeah, it's going to be one movie that, oh my God, this is a Nicolas Cage movie. Everybody kind of steps their game up a little bit. You know what I mean? I can see that. Just someone with that much passion coming in. Angry straight white male says, what was cool is that Nick Cage says, cuckoo in the small store wand earlier, the same movie company, Neon, which had a trailer for another horror suspense film. Did you guys get that?
Oh, I think there's a movie called Cuckoo.
Coming out by Neon.
Yeah, it's got the dude from Legion. He's in Abigail. He's the guy. David. He played Beast in the live action Beauty and the Beast.
Right. This is interesting. He's saying he's wondering if maybe they're going to be in the
world
same
building
universe.
There.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be a cool idea.
I'll tell you what, Neon. There's a company to kind of look out for. Possessor that they did was badass. I think they did Infinity Pool. Possessor was amazing with Brandon Cronenberg, or by Brandon Cronenberg.
That's on Tubi. I'm gonna watch that because I almost watched it the other day, but I didn't watch it. But okay,
So badass. I reviewed it with Robbie, one of the first, I think it was the second review we did on the channel, but I'm making a list and we're going to be checking them twice like next year. We're going to hit all those movies that I've reviewed with other people at one point.
You know what really made me want to see it was when I seen who was in it, the dude from It Comes at Night, the I forget his name, but you know what I'm talking about, dark haired dude.
Oh, something Cabot. I just saw him in, remember I was talking to that Marcy May Marlene movie with Elizabeth Olsen. He's in that too. Christopher Abbott. He's a guy, and this is something I heard about him. I almost want to keep an eye out for him as becoming a director at one point because he's a film guy. He picks these low budget, like micro budget, badass movies, and he's in all of them. Like I don't know, he's weaseled his way to where now he's in like big Oscar winning movies like Poor Things and stuff. So
I was gonna say, I was just thinking, I was like, wasn't he the one of the assholes in Poor Things? Like,
yeah,
he had the stash.
Hell yeah. Dismay says, just joining in now, Longlegs was very overhyped for me. It was fine to good for me, but definitely not great or amazing like the critics and hype behind it would make you think. That's part of the thing is like I stay out of the hype. I stay away from the hype. And also I get what you're saying. We'll get into the review in a little bit, but I'll just say I left the theater the first time because I did go twice. I left the theater disappointed the first time. I'll get into my whole experience with the theater and why I went twice in just a moment. But anybody have anything else to throw out there on Nick Cage before we kind of move on?
I'm glad to see he's getting like a resurgence, bro. It's like him and Keanu Reeves have had like come out with a bang. They've had these laws, come out with a bang, have another law, then come out with a final third bang or a fourth bang.
Right. Good comparison. Just these two beloved actors. It's hard. You're not going to find many people like, oh, fuck Keanu Reeves and Nick Cage. No.
I feel like you can feel these young directors and producers' love for these actors too. Like they grew up watching these guys, and you can kind of feel that translate in the roles they give them and the respect they show them with these roles.
Hell yeah. Well said, gentlemen. All right, before we move on, real quick, I want to promote this Sunday. I'll be joined by none other than Missing Link for a Sunday Fun Day double feature talking about two new movies, at least new to streaming. Abigail is coming out on Peacock, maybe tonight at midnight, but at least by Friday, it'll be dropping on Peacock. So check that out. And then In a Violent Nature, the other most hyped up movie of the year. People fucking love it. People fucking hate it. I've yet to see either of them, but I'm going to be watching them before Sunday, hopefully.
Love that thumbnail, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, worked on that right before we got on. But what was the other thing I wanted to say? I had something. I guess that's it. I don't remember. I guess I'll say what's up to the chat. That's what I wanted to do. Oh, Evan in the motherfucking house. What up, my brother?
Up, bro?
Hell yeah. My man. Oh, National Treasure, people are saying. I don't think we mentioned National Treasure.
National Treasure, dude. Too. That's such a feel-good movie. I love that.
That was better than it had any right to be. Like, I remember seeing the trailer, and like, mind you, this came out, I was like 14, 15. So I was thinking, man, this shit looks, it's not Con Air. It's not The Rock. It looks so family-friendly. But it ended up being really good, and so I got to give him that. Even he's done a few religious movies, and I'm not too keen on ever watching those. I'm not against religion, but I feel like they're very preachy, and he makes those engaging, so Nick Cage is a gem, true gem.
Yeah,
100%. He's a Hollywood legend. Oh, I know the fun fact I wanted to get in there. You guys might know this, but I didn't know that he's actually Nicholas Kim Coppola, the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola. How fucking cool
is
that?
His first couple jobs
on his films.
He's like Joe Hill.
Yep. I respect that even more, because they could have easily cashed in on their family's last name alone. And he's like, he made his own path. That's very commendable.
Hell yes. All right. So let us get in now to the Longlegs review. We pretty much already set it up. The premise, which I didn't know going in, I had just heard, it's like Silence of the Lambs and Nick Cage is in it. And then the other thing that I had heard right before is like, nobody knows what he looks like, which is exciting. I liked that part of the ad campaign. They're hiding what the dude looks like. And I'm not showing you guys. I had thought about it. I guess he's in the thumbnail a little bit. But it was cool. It kind of pays off. He looks like fucking Michael Jackson. Looks like Nick Cage cosplaying as Michael Jackson.
You guys ever seen Atlanta? Teddy Perkins? Kind of game he was giving me like Teddy Perkins just on a really bad day vibes.
I don't feel like you see a fraction of him until like he's in like, well, I don't want to ruin it, but
no, yeah.
until later in the film, you know what I mean? Like they do a good job. Even when they show it, they obscure it. Like they do a good job until like that final full reveal when he's there for the interview.
Right.
You know,
which pays off too. Like
it does.
It's worth the wait.
Big ways. Absolutely.
They held back on a lot of things in the right places. As far as what the premise is, there is a serial killer. This is what we know. We've got this new agent to the force, just like in Silence of the Lambs, this young kind of awkward woman played by Maika Monroe. Her name is Lee Harker. And they find out there is this serial killer that's been going on for at least 20 years, maybe longer, that all they find are families where it looks like the father has killed the wife and the kids and then killed himself. But at each one of these crime scenes, there's a note left behind that there's this dude named Longlegs, these encrypted messages, and he is really taking credit for it. But there's all this evidence, or all the evidence says that he's never been in the house. So it's like, is he controlling people? That's the big mystery. How is he making these people kill their families and then kill themselves? So that's the setup. And we meet Lee Harker, and on her first assignment where she's going out there to investigate this, she's with her partner or her new partner. They're going door to door, and she says, that's the house. He's in it. Like she's a psychic all of a sudden. And that caught me off guard. And so I'm like, okay, this is a little bit different. And her partner goes up to the door, bam, dead, just gets shot. We find out that's fucking Longlegs. And then the movie goes on for there. But Stu, what was your reaction? Man, before that, we get that flashback scene where we get a glimpse of.
Was the beginning scene was it Longlegs? I thought the beginning scene was like some other killer that she discovered, and
that was one of the that he had
that was the one of the
you're right. It wasn't Longlegs.
Yeah, that was
like, responsible.
That was one of the dads that he had like transformed. Yeah, that was dude. Bad. I love the beginning. All right, so it was a little tropey with she has intuitions about the
what'd you guys think of that?
Okay, at first I thought it was tropey, but I did kind of like the way they reconciled it. However, we could have used more information about. I thought that scene we got with the mortician where he was explaining the doll was cool, and like explaining the nature of this evil and how it operates, really, like, because we kind of struggled to understand that all the way through until the end of the movie. But like mixed in with her intuition until we finally found out what it meant, it was kind of weird and tropey until a certain point in the movie where it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like I was kind of doubtful and hesitant with it, but at the same time, it all felt like a fever dream. You know what I mean? Like it felt like when she teamed up with the more senior agents and Blair Underwood's character and all that stuff, like it felt like she had got a promotion, but it still felt like all weirdly disconnected. You know what I mean? I don't, even though it was FBI, it just felt, something felt off about it. So I don't know. I kind of struggle with that back and forth. I liked it and then I didn't. How did y'all feel about it?
Well, I just wonder, like, I'm trying to think of throughout the rest of the movie where it really came into play that she was psychic. Like maybe there are moments, but I think we could have, I don't know. I don't know why it was really necessary for the film. Link, what do you think?
Yeah, it was it was odd just because it's like, that scene happens and then all of a sudden she's called in and they're like, I'm thinking she's going to be part of some special task force that specializes in psychics, but she's just part of another squad, but they just happen to know she might be psychic.
I feel like it was kind of that, like she got put on the big case because they think she's half psychic and they test her out. They're like, oh shit, she's kind of psychic.
But they themselves did not have, we like, to our knowledge, from what we saw, she was the only person who had psychic ability. So why would they be specialists in this when they're regular people? Like, where are the other psychics and shit,
Right.
I maybe the answer is there, but that question did pop into my head with that. I've got a question for you guys at the very beginning, the opening scene. Did you connect that to how it later plays out?
No, I didn't. Stu?
This is what I mean about me really trying to. I
thought that it was like a precursor just to set her up as a like a precog or whatever.
I gotta untrain my mind because this is like me. I'll be honest. I guess that I was like because they kind of go to like that scene, and the focus of that scene was that person, and then they transition to said person, and but I don't know. So this movie, even I don't know, the dialogue with they sold it well enough. I guess, you know, it wasn't enough for me to pick at it where it's like, this shit is, but I did question it a little bit, you know. It's like, it's a little cheesy, you know. It's like, oh, we hear a little bit of psychic. I mean, I actually really did like Blair Underwood, by the way.
He was great. I love that.
He was fantastic.
His voice was amazing.
better half psychic than no psychic, am I right? I was like, man, this guy's really grasping his straws here in the investigation. Dude, I like though, like, oh shit, what was I gonna say?
Story of my life.
And, all right, yeah. So, like, I didn't like that, like, premonition as much as I liked Longlegs in the backyard with the girl in the snow, and how that came into play later, and we found out the full story behind all that. You know what I mean? I thought that was a better situation where it's like, we're going to show you a little bit at the first part of the movie, introduce our bad guy, and then you're going to find out later what all this means and who these people really are, and what the situation is.
That's a good example of being used, but then the whole idea of it is like, was it necessary to begin with for her to, like, where'd she get these psychic abilities? Was it because of the trauma she witnessed? Like, how come other people that don't have trauma aren't, you know, it was like, why does she randomly, it reminded me of like,
I think I know why. I think I figured it out after watching it again. It's because, and look, you know what? I kind of fucked up what I was planning on doing. We were gonna do like a fuck that, whatever. We're already rolling.
Yeah,
whatever. We've already been in spoiler and shit. Another thing I was gonna say is, like, feel free, like, we could spoil everything about the movie, like, you know what I mean? Touch on shit later, we'll dive deeper into it later. My theory on that is, we find out, spoiler, giant fucking spoiler, we find out that Longlegs had been living in the goddamn basement her entire fucking life, playing around with magic and shit. I think she soaked some of that devilry up. You know what I mean? And that's why she's psychic. That's my guess. And I
like that.
Yeah, I still don't love it, but it makes it make a little bit more sense why she is. Because I mean, that's the thing. We find out this is a straight up supernatural movie involving devil worshipping, straight up hail Satan shit, and possessed dolls. Which nobody went into this movie guessing, unless they showed at the preview, that there's possessed dolls in this.
You know, when they shot the head off and the black smoke came from the first, I was like, what are those, like nanites? Are those sentinels or something, like the robots? Like, you know,
the comic book fan when you came out.
I didn't expect it to be straight up like dark magic, you know, like but
that's so funny.
I thought she was dead, like when she collapsed, and I was like, oh shit, like what?
They destroyed your connection to the
exactly.
Let's I'm gonna read my man's comment, and then I wanted to get into Maika Monroe and her character. So angry straight white male who so far has been not what I thought, judging on his name. been a great guy. I'm just a sucker for Maika Monroe. He says her performance in It Follows was great. I agree. I should have mentioned she's pretty much become like a minor modern day horror icon, especially with this movie. This movie and It Follows are two, whether you like it or not, incredibly popular horror movies made in the last 10 years. And then she put out Watcher, which was a Shudder original in 2022 that got really good reviews. We need to check that out. And Kenneth Bird in the motherfucking house. What up, my brother? And I think one or two others, but she's made a name for herself. But what was my man saying? I kind of forgot where I was at there. And he continues to say, then watching her in The Guest. That's the other one with Dan Stevens was great. That movie is so damn fun. Yeah, we got to catch up on some of these Maika Monroe films.
Dan Stevens, I like Dan Stevens.
Dan Stevens is
very versatile.
Yeah, he is.
Word.
Yes. Yep.
Sorry to derail.
I'm sitting here. No, you're good. He says Dan Stevens is the guy from Abigail and Beauty and the Beast live action. I fucking love Beauty and the Beast live action. I like his stuff. He's good. If you haven't seen The Guest, worth checking out. Yeah, appreciate that, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, speaking of Maika Monroe, that was one of the big takeaways. I enjoyed her so much more on my second watch through. I was going to say this. I think part of the reason why I like to watch movies twice is because I don't necessarily enjoy as much like guessing a movie while I'm watching it. And I really enjoy, now that I know everything that's going to happen, to see how they set it up. You can kind of study a movie a little bit more. And it's less like, I don't know. I find like when I'm watching a movie that is like maybe a little bit hard to follow, like I have this like low level anxiety that I'm trying to catch, fucking make sure I'm following everything along. That's not there on a second viewing, where I can kind of let my brain relax a little bit more and pick it apart and kind of have more fun with it. But her performance is so subdued. It's so quiet. It's so awkward. And I'm like, is this from the trauma? Does she have some kind of like disorder of some sort? You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I thought.
Like, yeah, like, what do you think is what do you think of her? Like, what do you think is up with her character?
So, I mean, and within the story, initially, I was like, because of how the dialogue kind of opened with like the psychic stuff, I was like, she's doing a really bad attempt at conveying someone who might be on the spectrum, or just
I was wondering that as well.
Awkward. But after we get into the end of the movie, it all kind of makes sense why she's just a very odd individual. But initially, I guess that does make sense, because at first I thought, I was like, man, she's kind of doing a bad job, you know, because she's like sitting in the bedroom with her partner's daughter, and she's just like looking around. She's like, oh, what does this do? You know, I was like, man, you're really not selling me on this whole spectrum thing, if that's what you're going for. And then I was wondering, I was like, because, you know, we're like 20 minutes into the movie at this point, and she's just been odd the entire time, and like they're not showing us why she's so peculiar, you know, why she acts so differently or socially awkward. So I just thought that was going to be something to write off, like, oh, they just bad characterization or bad acting on behalf of the movie. But I guess it makes more sense once we find out what she's gone through and the connection she's had to Longlegs this entire time. But yeah, it threw me off. She was good though. I will say there's the ending kind of pisses me off with her character. Not to get too far ahead, we'll get to that later, but that was like the only scene that I was like, you know,
I'm with you.
What are you doing, dumb bitch? You know, like,
seriously, pull the gun out and start shooting. What are you fucking waiting for?
Yeah, take her into, bro. Yeah, but yeah, she did a good job. She did a good job.
She did. I mean, I was struggling like the whole movie, being like, she makes you feel uncomfortable, which is what she's trying to do, and it's frustrating because you want her to say fucking these things I'm thinking. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you what, like, after I left the movie and like the first time, she is what lingered with me the most. Like, her performance, more than there are so many events of the movie that I had forgot. There's a movie that feels like, or it's a movie that feels like a kind of eventless. Like, there's not a lot that happens in it, but watching it again, there's a lot of stuff that I forgot. But her performance really sticks with me, and I'm really like into her as an actress right now. I want to look at more of her work. She's supposedly like super bubbly in real life. But even in It Follows, she's not like this in It Follows, but she's like very still. She's always like plays these like very like chill ass characters. But still, my brother, what do you think of Maika Monroe in the film?
Dude, I loved her. I thought she was incredible, man. Really carried, you know, Nick Cage was to me like the highlight, and I definitely could have used more of him, but the way her anxiety, like her unsettledness, just the way she carried that throughout the movie, I thought was gripping. I just from the beginning where she's in the squad room and she's eyeing her partner with kind of disgust. She gets to the house and goes through those situations, and also like I don't think you can compliment her performance without complimenting the cinematography around it.
Yeah,
the way it followed her into the houses, the way, like, I love the scene at the cabin, man. Even when she's taking a shower and she's eating and she's calling her mom, she seems so stressed out. Right? She's sitting there, she's got the bowl of cereal, the gun right next to her. Like, it just like it felt like she never relaxed.
Right.
Go ahead, bro.
Oh no, I was gonna say the cinematography. When I compared it to Seven earlier, I think that's what was giving me the vibes, was the cinematography. Very reminiscent of like Seven, very uncomfortable and like a fever dream almost. You know, it just I don't know. I don't know how to describe it.
It was dude, especially that bus stop scene when he finally got arrested. Just that reminded me Brad Pitt and them at the end, all out in the desert. Like
100%.
In the way it went from those wide shots to that one insular shot of him, just it was so brilliant.
There's a lot of
so many aspects,
open space in the cinematography, and a lot of slow. I mean, it sounds like a silly thing to say, oh, they were slow zooming, but it was used well. You know what I mean? It's such like a tropey thing to do, but it was kind of used in different ways. There's one scene that I think of in particular. Can't even remember what was really happening, but Maika Monroe, they're outside and she's walking off, and the camera's like slowly zooming after her. And it's like he did a lot of stuff like that. It's kind of hard to like explain on a podcast, but it helps create this like eerie vibe, like big time.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a movie called Lake Mungo, which I'm really tempted to add to the Horror Fest list. That's a mockumentary, and so much of that movie there'll be still pictures, and they're just slowly zooming in on something in the picture, and it's like so fucking creepy, I think, and effective.
Dude, it is.
This reminded me of that.
Absolutely. And I like it used those classic tropes too, like even when that like the scenes at the end when she gets to the house and the mom comes out of the background all of a sudden, like in the background of the car, and you don't know she's there. You know what I mean?
That's like one of the best moments of the movie.
Dude, it used the classic tropes, and like I thought did a good job of doing its own original thing, both like with the up close claustrophobic shots and the big expansive landscape, and it all felt desolate. It all felt yellow. It all felt hopeless. You know what I mean? There was never any bright colors or bright like positive tones throughout the movie. I thought it was gorgeous. Well done. A+ to the photography team.
Damn it.
But yeah, Maika, I don't mean to take away from Maika. I thought she was incredible, man. And she felt possessed the whole movie, and definitely one of the shining stars besides Nick.
This was a random thought. I was gonna because I'm thinking of this. I just don't want to lose it. But like, do you guys see like the idea of a sequel for this is kind of cool, is because it's like he could be written off as illusions because of maybe we don't know how many dolls are out there or where he dropped them off, or so it's like anybody else could be the Longlegs, and he's like inject their mind almost, so it's like he is talking to them as an illusion, shit like that. Maybe they start dressing like him. Gave me like some like Saw vibes a little bit, because Saw, for its second movie, my man's was gone. This is almost 20 years ago, and he's just come out with a movie.
From the feel that I get from Oz Perkins, another fun fact, he's the son of fucking Anthony Perkins, Norman Bates from Psycho.
Oh,
crazy!
Wow.
Yeah, he's an actor, producer, and director. He was in Legally Blonde, I believe it is. He was in some big teen-ish movie back in the day that a lot of people actually know him from. But what the hell was I gonna say? Oh, I just don't get the feel that he would do a sequel. Maybe he sold the rights and maybe Neon would, but just from the vibe that I get from that guy, I hope they don't. But if they do a prequel and keep Nick Cage involved.
Yeah.
Which he says
more Nick Cage.
He says he doesn't want to do any serial killer movies after this. He says he predicts that when this movie drops, his phone's going to be ringing off the hook for roles like this. And he's like, it's not really his thing. He enjoyed doing it, but he doesn't like to do roles in which people hurt people.
Make an exception for Batman, Professor Pig. Nick Cage.
There you go. That would be so sick. He's a comic book fan, man. We already got our foot in the door. You know what I mean?
Whoa. Big Daddy was a serial killer that killed bad guys dressed as a superhero. He was a serial killer, though. More or less, bro.
It's true. Yeah. All right, so let us get into. They set the movie up. I think I have this right, the way I divided up into like part 1, part 2, and part 3. Which after watching it twice, I'm like, did we really need those? I don't know that we needed it. It didn't really feel like 3 really distinctive parts. But when you break it down, the second part of the movie is more or less the procedural investigation section of the movie. We've got Maika decoding the code in general, decoding the letter that he left her. So we know that he's leaving her a letter, tells her not to tell the police about it, or he's gonna fucking cut off her mom's titties or something fucking crazy like that, right? Yeah, he's
hanging milk.
So he's mentioning her mom, brings her mom into the situation. Maybe she's involved. They end up finding one of these dolls at one of the crime scenes, and they visit one of the former survivors. Did you guys, I got to pull up her name so I don't fuck it up. Did you guys realize who that was? It was Kiernan Shipka, who's
I've seen her in something before.
She's the lead actress in Totally Killer, dude.
No way.
Blew my mind. She's so charismatic and charming and Totally Killer. And in this, she plays this really awkward looking girl with a Huckleberry Finn accent. I'd be pleased as peaches. Basically what she learns in the interview when Lee Harker goes there, she learns that this dude is the Purple Man, more or less. He has the power to tell people what to do, and they have to do it. And she's going on like, well, if he told me right now just to choke the life out of you, I'd do it happy as peaches just to watch your little heart go pop, pop, pop. And it's like, whoa, I cannot believe that that's the same chick who, by the way, stars in Oz Perkins' biggest hit before this, or most popular film before this, The Black Coat's Daughter. She's the lead in that. So she's another one, man. Like these two actresses are like the two actresses that I'm most interested like in the horror world right now. So
really, question. That the scene before when she finds it, when he leaves her the note, like that was a little odd to me because like she hears shit going on in her house, she goes to check it out, but then when she comes back, there's a fucking notebook sitting on the desk, and she just kind of like, oh, hey, there's a notebook, you know, someone broke into my house and left this bitch here, you know, but I'm just gonna kind of check this out, not telling you know, I don't know that how they handled that was a little messy. I'd say.
Also, one of my favorite little details though, she gets the note, she runs her finger over it, and the ink's wet. I love that.
So he wrote it.
Creepy.
That's what I'm saying. Did he write it right there, really fucking fast?
Yeah, like it felt like it, but yeah, I agree with Link. Then immediately after that, she's still hearing creaks and all that shit. It's like, girl, you need to secure the premises. Like, but yeah, that was.
Oh, my man's saying she's Sabrina from Netflix too. Is he talking about Maika Monroe or
no, Sabrina, the teenage
the crazy chick, Peaches,
Kiernan Shipka? God, she's got a weird name, Kiernan Shipka. That's a tricky one. I'm like trying to burn it into my brain.
Dude from Gen V who passed away was on that show.
Really
messed up. Yeah.
Big ups.
So
my man Stu, what did you think of what did you think of the second act of the film, the procedural, the investigation bit, just in general?
It was cool. It was all right. You know, the doll, like I said, I think one of my favorite parts was the scene with the mortician and the doll, and like how he was describing it. He was clearly taken by it. You know, I think that thing was calling my ex-wife's name.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah,
right.
For sure. You know, there was certain parts I liked. There was like one of those scenes where she was with the information all night, and she came back and she told Blair Underwood a bunch of stuff that anybody could have told him, like from reading the file. So some of it was just like, I think it could have been tighter writing wise. But
can I jump in with something that I'm thinking of that annoyed me? She says they're talking about something. Oh, they're sitting there having a conversation, her and her boss, Agent Carter, and she says something along the lines of like, I think, oh, he's controlling these people and getting them to kill people for him. And then Agent Carter's like, man, that sounds like a page right out of Manson. And she goes, well, Manson had accomplices. He must have accomplices. Well, those two things didn't fucking tie together at all. It's just those are two. He also had black hair. This guy must have black hair. Like that was poor right there.
Exactly to my point. Some of the jumps made were just a little bit too far logic, but I don't know. It worked enough for me. It wasn't super. Like I said, it could have been tighter. It could have been better written, but it was cohesive enough for me to get through.
What about you, Steph? As far as the investigation portion,
Stu said it best. Like it was messy in certain parts, but it was done well enough for me not to be taken out of the story to like, oh, okay, I'm done with this shit. This is so bad. You know, there were questionable moments, but it wasn't enough to take me out where I'm just like, how's this all where I'm just questioning the beginning of the movie? You know, there's times like, well, that, like you said, that's not a really good comparison, but oh well, you know, well, to the next thing, you know, but it was I feel like when do they? It's the end of this act is when they get him, right?
I think so. You know what? I wasn't even sure the way I wrote it down. I just assumed that the third part is once they get him. You know what I mean? That, to me, that feels like the third act. I was going to ask you guys, do you think it's one big leap for me? It's like a giant coincidence that this guy, this serial killer, lived in her basement all these years without her knowing.
Yeah.
And the second she gets on the FBI, they put him on his case. It's like, well, that to me is a giant leap in logic that's never tied together. There's a lot of shit.
I think like Nick Cage's character said something about that. Like there was something with the doll that like was leading her, like part of those magic forces was leading her down this path or to like back to where she was eating her own tail type of deal. You know what I mean? I feel like he said something to that effect at some point there in the late stages of the movie, but I could be wrong. Again, that's the disappointing, like the good and the bad part about seeing it in the theaters is you don't have that rewind button.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Dude, but, I don't think I'm not good at theaters. Like, I enjoy watching, especially a movie that's kind of slow. This movie isn't slow, but it is. It's a movie that takes its time, but like for me, at least, on the second watch through, I loved the pacing. I'm like, it's never not interesting. Even the first watch through, when I left the theater disappointed, I still was engaged the entire time. I wanted to know what was going on. It didn't fall together exactly the way I wanted it to, or as cleanly, or as, just as cool as I wanted it to be. But I was still really into the movie the entire time, both watch throughs. And I think it kind of flies by, which is weird how a movie can do that. A movie can feel slow. Like, this is a slow burn movie, but it doesn't have a slow pace. It's fucking, you guys agree?
Yeah, it's well paced.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah, that like I was saying, like, there was moments where I was kind of questioning certain shit, but it was never like where I was like, I'm kind of done with this movie. I was like, I wanted to see what this was all leading to. Like, even some of the more mundane scenes, but it was a standout for me was when Nick Cage goes to the convenience store. And he's like creepy towards the art. She's like, Dad, the weird guy's doing weird shit again.
Well, that's a perfect segue.
All the locals are fed up with this shit. Like, they interview the locals on the local news after they caught him. He's like, I've been trying to tell people for fucking years about this.
Yeah, we've all got a couple of these guys in all of our towns. It's like everybody knows if you live in a small enough town, everybody knows their fucking name, and everybody gets on the other side of the street when they come by. He's definitely in that category. But let's get into that specifically. They tease him out, and then they just drop a scene on us like that where we see him. Now we're finally, from his perspective, we get a look at this guy. He's super fucking weird. We flash back to the beginning again, and now we get an extended version of that scene, and we see the childhood interaction between Longlegs and Maika Monroe's character, and that she took a picture of him, leads them into finding out who he is and all that. But I think with a lot of his performances, you're like, it's so over the top. Like, is it too much? Fuck, I don't know. I would have to ask him. I don't know. But for me, it borders on being like, what the fuck? But it's awesome. At the same time, I thought his look was super cool. He's got one point where he's like, if you ask me to leave, and he's singing and like all like the
hand motions.
Dude, yeah, he's doing this like weird
jazz
fucking shit. Incredible. I thought the vocals were badass, like when he was singing, and they're dumping on the fucking the reverb and all these effects onto his voice. It sounds crazy. But Stu, my brother, what did you think of the final reveal of Nick Cage and Longlegs in the movie?
Man, it was fantastic because that's the first thing we got right was him at the farm, kind of like learning that girl in the backyard, and like he bends down and you get a half-second look like you've gotten in the trailers and everything, or at least I had gotten watching the trailers leading up to this point, but it still doesn't give you that like satisfaction. So finally seeing him later, man, and then getting that like full reveal when he's in the interrogation room at the police station, and I loved all the little bits about him. Like Link said, the store scene, him singing, both like with the girl and in the car. I love when he goes in the store, you just hear him breathing, right, as he's walking down the aisle. Like it's just so unsettling and wild. Like it was just it was the type of transformation that actors win awards for. And I feel like if he was really the main focus of this film, like really, it would have been close to that, because like that was my biggest gripe and complaint walking away from this, is that we didn't have more screen time with him. I was watching that shit towards the end, dude. I was watching it with a smile on my face every time he came on screen. Right. It was like horrifyingly wonderful. I thought it was fantastic.
I get that, but I like the idea of leaving him wanting more. Let's address this though. Dismay Comics asking basically what was the point of him going into that hardware store. I kind of look at it. You're right. Plot wise, I don't think it added anything plot wise. Maybe I missed something. But for what it did to me, it like humanized him in a way. We see him doing something as mundane as going into a hardware store, and like that he is a real person. He's in your city. He's in your town. You know what I mean? He's someone that you see around, and people, just like what we said, we see people like that, people that are just fucking weird, and you can't just like be like, oh, he's too weird to be in society. Like, oh, we got to let him be weird. It reminds me of something that I just wanted to throw in there. The scene earlier where we've got Maika Monroe's character and she's talking to her mom back at her house. there was something about like up until that point in the movie, like we hadn't seen her. She was a little bit looser in that scene when she's talking to her mom. She smiles a little bit, and there was something about her having that like freshly showered look that humanized her and made her more relatable. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, okay, she's a normal person. She takes showers, because she had been so weird up until that
That's
point.
so true, dude.
Like, to think about it, they sat and made that decision, like, oh, let's put her in a post shower look, and I don't know.
And I love the house they gave her, that like secluded cabin. I love that. That felt so fitting to her character. I thought that was great.
Hell yeah! Where were we now? Link, did I send it to you on your Longlegs thoughts and just how long his legs were, or you might have already hit it?
I think they're pretty long. No, what are we just talking about?
Just Nick Cage in general.
I think this may answer his own question where he was at the hardware store. I think he probably, I mean, they didn't show us, but I think the best bet was like he was buying paint or something to make, obviously these dolls took a lot of time, so my man's needed to stay strapped with materials. But I don't know. I feel like he did a wonderful job. Like, I mean, when does Nick Cage not do a wonderful job? But I think even with the screen time he was given, like he left his mark. He's still very memorable. They might have actually even done the hardware store scene just because they kind of realized, like, yo, shit, we need more Nicolas Cage, and that was just kind of added in half of mid-production.
Because without that, it's almost nothing. It's one scene and a couple glimpses.
Yeah, that's like the first time we kind of, everything else is kind of obscured up until that point with him, like very hazy or blurred or just from like the neck down type of shit.
Or like this look.
Yeah, so we finally got to see him do some weird shit.
I want to know I want to know whose idea that was to do. It had to be his, right?
Yes.
To like position his arms like that. That's just so freaky, man.
The director's probably like, to have at it. Do what you want. Let's do less.
Well, one thing interesting, because when I was watching, I was like, man, I bet Nick Cage like ad-libbed a bunch of this, or like, you know what I mean, added his own shit. Oz Perkins in the one interview that I saw said he didn't want to add shit. Maybe other things, but as far as like the dialogue, he told him straight up, with everything, I'm not trying to change anything. I'll do exactly what's on the paper. But Maika Monroe did more ad-libbing, but I think what she did is took words out. Like she did a lot of like, oh, I'll do that with a look, which was great in my opinion.
Yeah, she's a great physical actress. Absolutely.
Another thing he said is he questioned why don't all writers do this, but he said in his screenplays he writes characters' thoughts, and he said like almost nobody does that. He's like he gives everybody like production design. Everybody knows what the characters are thinking. He's like just to get everybody on the same page. And in Maika Monroe's case, like that really probably pays off because of how much of this movie is just us looking at her face and theorizing what she's thinking and putting ourselves in her place.
Yeah. One more question. One more question for y'all before we move on from Longlegs and the dolls and stuff. Did y'all want to know more about the steel brains? And I wanted to know more about that and like what was going on there. What little fragment of the soul, right? He was using to create those, because obviously that's where all the power was with these things. But that was I don't know. I like the mystery though at the same time. But
they could have shown us a little, like maybe shown us one of the rituals or whatever, but I don't even know if I fully, I mean, I guess I did. You didn't even need the ball. There was no difference in my mind between the ball and the doll. It was like, okay, I guess he infused it.
Yeah.
Like when I read it on Wikipedia, which is what I like to do when I'm making the rundown, is just read their plot synopsis. And they wrote in there, this ball was infused with the devil and whatever. And it's what was possessing people. But you could have just been the doll. I didn't understand the need for the ball.
Well, the only reason I said that is like when they're in the corners thing and he puts like that device up to it and starts making that crazy noise, and then she starts seeing the snakes. I don't know what they were. Felt like they were trying to.
Maybe
she would like that it was possessed. Like it is the source of everything. You're right, but I just don't know why it needed to be other than the doll.
Maybe his look, kind of his deteriorating look, kind of had like he said parts of me will kind of like maybe he was, and I don't know, but he was his look had to do with him like putting parts of himself, or maybe he was found
part of the ritual.
Yeah,
I love that theory, dude. I love it because another thing that it said in like Wikipedia, it just states it as a fact. And granted, it's just somebody fucking writing it, but it's like he has a disfigured face from past plastic surgeries. And I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. He fucking looks exactly like Michael Jackson. He's got the upturned nose. It does look like it's plastic surgery. So that is interesting. I love that stuff. He's like peeling off pieces of his face and like using it in the rituals or whatever possible.
Or that burning it in ash or some shit, mixing it in the ash with the chemicals he's putting into the whatever concoction he was doing to. But I don't know how black magic,
I love it.
Black magic works.
I'm gonna make a video based just on that as soon as we're done. But it's a great theory. I'll give you credit. Warren Smith says it's a MacGuffin, a plot device to hang the story on. Yeah, true, my friend. So let us get into the ending and the what the fuck is going on of it all. What we find out, giant spoiler alert, is basically kind of what we've been talking about this whole time. But the big reveal is, and we'll debate whether or not this was telegraphed too early on in the movie, but the big reveal is that Lee's mother has been Longlegs' accomplice all the time. So that very beginning scene was Longlegs coming to do the same shit that he does to everybody to Lee Harker's family in the beginning. And her mom made a deal with him that she will be his accomplice and she will like help him kill these other families if she saves, if he doesn't kill her daughter. So she has been dressing up as a nurse and she's been taking these dolls possessed with devil magicry into people's houses and telling them it's a gift from the church. And that's what possesses the dads. And I don't know, do you guys assume that she stays there and she's witnessed all the murders? Is that the way you guys kind of read it?
That's how I read it.
Yeah, because doesn't she say like I stayed to make sure it gets done the way he wants it to, or whatever?
Yeah. Really cool, man. So we find out that Lee, they don't fully know all this yet, but Lee goes with another FBI agent to arrest her mother. And this is when we get that great shot of the mom in the background of this car sneaking up and shooting this fucking FBI agent twice. Awesome reaction from Maika Monroe with her. That's one of the biggest like reactions we get from her in the movie. And they end up arresting Longlegs. He fucking kills himself he kills himself before all this. And then we'll touch on the ending, I guess, in a moment. But no, I guess I'll say the whole thing. And then he ends up, the sergeant, Agent Carter, he is now possessed. This doll is at her house. Micah's mom is at her house, and she goes there, and the whole family gets killed besides maybe the daughter at the end. And the end of the movie is Micah sitting there trying to kill the doll with the daughter sitting there. She can't squeeze the trigger. So in my mind, after the credits roll, she fucking kills that little girl, and now she's got the long legs.
See, I took it as that she was out of bullets somehow.
Yeah,
like
out of ammo. But then I was counting rounds. I was like, she only shot dude twice, and then she shot her mom once. She should have 3 more bullets at least.
To me, that's just not as dramatic enough. Then what's going to happen? Did you not think that she was like stopped by magic somehow? Like she couldn't
I thought
kill
it was
it?
like that. Yeah.
No, I was just like, you're out of bullets, so you can't shoot the doll. So you're just like, oh well, you're not gonna just pick that bitch up and start smashing the shit or something like that.
Right.
So I was in a way, I just wrote it off. I was like, oh, she's still under his influence. Either way, she would, whether she couldn't pull the trigger or she's out of bullets and just said fuck it, she was still under his influence because she left the doll there.
Let me ask you guys something before I fucking forget about it. When she wakes up in the basement, which is when we realize, oh my God, her basement is Longlegs' basement. He's been down there all these years. When she wakes up in the basement, she's all unsteady and she's making her way up and she drives over to the house. Did you guys notice, like, they are making it look like she has long legs? She's on these, like, it's so fucking weird. There's a shadow of her coming up from the basement, and in that shadow, her legs are so fucking long. And the way that they're shooting her, she's like taller than normal, and she's like very unsteady. And it's got me thinking, like, why is this movie called Longlegs? What does Longlegs have to do with this? And it's like long legs. I don't know. It makes you like unstable, unbalanced, hard, you know what I mean? Unfocused or whatever. I don't really know what to make of it, but I'm positive after watching the second time. I'm like, okay, they're definitely making her look like she's got long legs now, which was cool. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, because it goes into that phone call, and then she goes over to the sergeant's house. And one thing I noticed, like, was there was that moment when she's talking to the family, and it's almost like the wife's throat gets cut, and it's already happened, but she's not seeing it happen. You know what I mean? And her mom says something like she's already dead. The wife's already dead.
Oh, yeah.
The daughter's next. So I didn't know.
That was weird.
In that situation, like, if time was moving, like, differently, or she wasn't seeing reality all the way.
That last scene is what kind of like fumbled for me, where I was just like, luckily it was the end, but I was really like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, you're gonna we'll be right back. The dude's already being overly aggressive. You already know what's up. You already know he's possessed. You're gonna let him. She was like, no, I'll be back. You'll still be in the kitchen.
I love that line. You'll be in the kitchen, which was great. That to me is them like having this like kind of really serious movie that they're honestly not taking that seriously. You know what I mean? There's a lightheartedness to a lot of this. There's a lot of little jokes sprinkled in this movie that is like a really serious feeling movie, but that was funny as shit. Like, I don't know. My feeling with that, and I understand what you're saying. I personally love the ending, but I get what you're saying. I look at it as like she can't. There's that magic in the house. That doll is in there and it's fucking with her brain. That's the only answer. If not, she's the worst FBI agent.
But the doll, cinema history. Remember, the mom said you're good then, and the mom shot the doll, and that to me symbolized that it was supposed to break the hold that he had on her.
Oh, that's a good point. But now she's in range of another magic. I get what you're saying. That's a good point.
So I mean,
if her mom is still down with the devil, then why did she shoot that doll in the first place and release
Stockholm syndrome? She thought it was the right, she's so far gone. Like, in reality, her mom, as soon as she was like, yeah, I'll make a deal with you, she should have went to the fucking police and be like, yo, this dude just my goddamn house, threatened to kill my, but no, she's for 20 something years, she's helped, aided and abetted him murdering, massacring families. So at one point, her mom was just fucked up, that she just maybe enjoyed it herself or was like brainwashed,
Dude, I love the look on the mom's face in that final scene when she's sitting in the chair, though. Like how like it just looks so evil, but like so like resigned and passive at the same time. I just thought that was such a great facial expression for her to maintain throughout that scene. And I just love that like kind of like overhead shot that they had of her. Again, great cinematography. I really enjoyed
Let me read this from Rogue. This movie was really well done all around. Just wish it would have scared me, I can read, I promise. Just wish it would have scared me, felt more intense for me, but that's rare these days. Cage killed it for sure. The scene of him being interrogated was great, which we really didn't touch on too much. Him killing himself, it was fucking awesome, but at the same time, you're like, that's it. Oh, Nick Cage is gone from the movie. So I did feel like robbed there a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But I agree. Now, I wasn't privy to the marketing hype. I didn't know the way that this was being hyped up as the scariest movie in the past 10 years and one of the scariest movies of all time. I didn't know that. I honestly went into it thinking like, oh, I hope this is horror enough for us to do on the show because it seems like a serial killer police procedural. So I was like happy right off the get-go. I'm like, oh, this is fucking definitely a horror movie. But no, there are some jump scares. There's like the sound, like at times like is creepy and piercing, and there's a feeling of dread throughout the entire movie. But just like 99.9% of the movies we review, like no, it didn't scare me. Did you guys find it scary?
No.
No, not like you said. Not in like the classic sense of the word. Like it was unsettling in parts and like good suspense, I would say. It kept me. I was definitely.
It did what a thriller does, but it did have more creepy atmosphere than a normal thriller.
Very, very well put. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Hell yeah. Rogue saying it definitely didn't see him dying so soon. Yeah, I didn't see that. It did bum me out, but it's like it is what it is. Like that was the story. It's like Jaws. It's like, yeah, we didn't get much of the shark, but it was better for it in a way. You could debate whether this one needed more Cage. I don't think it did. I really don't. It's more of a supernatural crime movie than a horror movie for me.
Yeah.
But I don't. I mean, definition, supernatural falls under the umbrella of horror.
I think so. To me, it's a lot more horror than Seven or even Silence of the Lambs.
For sure.
Like I wasn't until I got into the horror.
I couldn't believe people were calling this a horror movie. I was like, I still don't view it as a horror movie.
Neither do I. No, I mean, I do and I don't. Before I got into the horror world, I would have never thought of it as a horror movie. But there's a lot of movies that are kind of like that. But then it's like you got these serial killer scenes in it. But I don't know. Like horror fans be like, no, it's a fucking horror movie, and I'm one of those. But at the same time, I don't know that it is. I don't really think of it as a horror movie.
That's another one I don't. Those are movies I can let people slide with the term of calling it a horror movie, but I don't look at them as horror movies. They have slight horror elements. I wouldn't, I don't look at it like, oh yeah, that's a horror. I wouldn't go on a horror list for me. Maybe like a thriller.
Well, I mean, to be clear, and I know this isn't what we're talking about, but like for this channel, I'm pretty fucking lenient with it. What I try to do is like the movie that we're going to be talking about next week is definitely not a horror movie. It's 100% a thriller. I'll announce that in a little bit. But the movie the following week will be a horror. And the following week will be, you know what I mean? That's what I will sneak these ones in that are worthy and they're part of the conversation.
Pan's Labyrinth isn't a horror movie, but it's still a great film and worthy of...
It's debatable.
Horror fantasy.
It's debatable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a good. I mean, it's a good question. It has its moments, but you're right. Is it a horror? There's so many fucking movies that have horror elements that aren't horror movies. That's a borderline one. That's a major borderline one. But okay, does anybody have anything else to say on the ending? Let's just go ahead and rate this thing, and just anything else you have to say, throw it in there. So because we're running a little bit long, but we can run as long as you want, really. But go ahead, Stu. Go ahead and give me your rating, final thoughts, anything you want to say to wrap this.
All right, guys. This one I'm gonna do a 4 out of 5. I thought it was super solid. Definitely some inconsistencies with the storytelling and a couple logic leaps, but I thought overall strong performances from Maika and especially Nick Cage. Excellent cinematography, intriguing, compelling storyline, and even some of the other performances from folks were solid. So 4 out of 5 for me, man. And it was a joy to go see this in the movie theater with one other person. It's like you said, dude, it's always a trip when you come out of the movie and it's still like daylight, and especially a movie like this, you know what I mean? You gotta adjust to normal life. But yeah, man, I'm for the most part, I was very excited for this one. I was completely bought into all the hype, but excited to see Cage's transformation, and I think it definitely came through more than it did not. So 4 out of 5 for your boy.
I agree. He came through in way more areas than it did not. It maybe did it live up to the hype? No. But it's still I think a pretty badass movie. Where are you at, Link?
4 is respectable. I was kind of leaning towards that, but I was thinking about like how quickly things come and go these days, and like 2-3 years ago, everyone was talking about Black Phone, like it's one of the best horror movies in years. It's one of the best horror movies of the year. Fast forward to now, how many people are talking about it these days? Or anything.
If I could jump in, I think those are two different crowds that are talking about, in my opinion. Like, I think we wouldn't have said Black Phone. I think it's more like your younger crowd and everything. Like, I don't know. I didn't think Black Phone was very good, but I wouldn't, you know what I mean? I think this is more, I hate to say it, a little more of a serious, elevated type of film than Black Phone's more aiming at a mainstream audience. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. This feels a little bit more artsy to me than Black Phone.
Maybe it's a little darker. I
need to revisit it.
Cinematically, it's better, but I don't see this movie like I think it's buzz right now. I don't see people talking about this a year from now, 2 years from now. Like, remember? I mean, who knows though? Who knows? I don't. Right. It was a great performance, but I don't think it was iconic. Where he's going to be like a new horror icon for years to come.
I agree. There's not enough of them for that. There might be enough of them for me for this movie, but for that, yeah.
No, it was a very enjoyable movie though, but it's a movie that does have you questioning certain things at times. Not like what movie doesn't, but it does keep you engaged and involved in to see the entire case or the mystery through. I'll give it a 3.75. It's very engaging, but there will be certain people that might pick this apart and not be a little as lenient or forgiving, but I still think it's worth seeing, and definitely one of the more interesting horror movies of the year. So 3.75.
Hell yeah. 3.75 from Steph, a 4 from Stu. We have a 3.5 for angry straight white male. Doesn't seem very angry. Just saying. A 3 out of 5 from Warren Smith up in this bitch. And everyone's saying they like it more than Black Phone, which I appreciate. And Annika Calbert says Longlegs was everything I really needed in a horror movie. Didn't spook me as much as I thought it would, but some scenes genuinely made me gasp. I don't know what that is. Fish orange white eyes. I don't know what the fuck that is. I'm gonna say when I left the theater the first time, I was disappointed. It was a dog shit theater experience. If I can run through it real quick, I drove a couple towns over. I went to one of the nicer theaters around here. The projector was broke. Couldn't watch the fucking movie. They gave me a free ticket and a refund. Sent me on my happy way home. I came to my hometown. I went to our theater, which fucking sucks. And they showed it in the worst theater in the whole group. Did I send you guys the picture?
I don't think you did.
I sent it to Robbie. There's blue dots around the entire fucking perimeter of the screen. I'll send it to you. It's absolutely insane. I can't believe they're showing movies on that. It's 33 degrees in the theater the whole time. It's freezing. So it was terrible. It was
like my kind of theater, dude.
It was so bad. I left it being like 3.25. I was disappointed. I went again today. I used the free ticket that they gave me at the good theater. I said, fuck it. I got a free day. I went and watched it again today. Was really into it. Like I enjoyed it a lot more. I enjoyed following the story. It had all the problems that we talked about tonight, though. But I love that Maika Monroe performance. I love Kierna Shipka. That little bit that we get with her. The mom was great. Yeah. Nicolas Cage was great. Blair Underwood was great. Like the cast was phenomenal. I really love the cast. I love the direction. I love the cinematography. The Nick Cage shit. The sound design was fire, and just the feel and vibe of it was really good. But I'm at like a 4. I'm at a 4 out of 5. Like it's still not above that because it didn't like blow me away. I feel like a lot of times, like we give movies 4. I'll speak for myself. I give a lot of movies 4 that maybe should be a 3.5. Like because I think 3.5 is a good movie. I think a lot of times we kind of have this mentality. I feel like a little bit in the back of our minds that anything under a 4 we didn't like. And that's not true.
Yeah.
Like 3.5 is a solid 7. That's a good movie.
It's two. It's like when it's 2.5, 2.75 is when you're kind of like there's some shit there. But I think like a 3 and up is like it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but there'll be something for them to enjoy. They're not everybody might have the same levels of enjoyment from it, but they're not gonna walk away hating this shit.
Right.
You know,
it's a movie worth talking about if it's a 3 or above, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first third of the way through this, I was like, man, this thing is like shaping up to be something special. But then, it kind of fell off a little bit. But I had
ending, bro.
I had high hopes. Like,
you know what? I wish the ending. Hold on, what do you say? He said the mom was the lead actress in Urban Legend, if I remember correctly. I don't think she was she. All I know is that she was one of the teens in Urban Legend. Maybe she was the lead.
Oh shit!
One of the chicks in that movie was on the show called Dead Like Me by Brian Fuller, a great showrunner. But she played Death. She was like a
really?
Death. And she ended up, not a joke, but it's the irony of it, but she ended up getting into a car accident and hit a kid and accidentally killed him. And she got fired from that show because they didn't want her representing Death, after she had kind of done,
Bro, anybody else's random death you want to bring on to and talk about?
On that note, we'll wrap it up. Jesus Christ.
I love you. I'm just fucking with you.
I love it. So I don't know. Another thing is, it's kind of weird. I don't know if this is like the best like criteria for a film, but I enjoyed I might even have been at like a 3.75, but breaking it down, doing the rundown, reading through what happened, and like, I don't know, just being able to see it physically and like, well, this is the story. And like, it was kind of, I respect the writing of it a little bit more once I was able to kind of look at it like that. And it's like, it is eventful. Like there's a lot of moments in it that were really fucking cool and a lot of great performances. So a 4 from me and Stu, a 3.75 from Link, A lot of 3s, 3.5s, and 4 in the chat. So I appreciate all you guys. And what do we have coming up next week? Or as I said, first off, this Sunday, Fun Day, double feature with Missing Link, Abigail, and In a Violent Nature. Super excited about both these films. Really, I'm like dying to see what I think, especially of In a Violent Nature. So tune in for that one. And then coming up next Thursday, this is something I planned a while ago. So it might, I'm not going to even say anything more with it. I planned it a while ago. That's all I'll fucking say. We're doing Blowout from 1981, directed by Brian De Palma, starring John Travolta with
Robo. Movie? How have I never heard of this movie?
Yeah, nobody's seen this besides
Brian De Palma.
Palma too.
It is. Wow. It's basically a serial killer thriller movie. I don't want to say much more than that, but there's some interesting shit. And I'm just going to re-emphasize for people that do know this movie. I picked it weeks and weeks ago. Has nothing to do with anything going on right now. I'll just reiterate that.
Oh, heard. Okay.
But yeah, we're talking Blowout. This is a movie that I randomly, Prime Video is telling me to watch this like every day. It's next to Chud in the list, but it's nothing like Chud. It's like a murder mystery, got a giallo kind of feel.
What year is this?
1981, I believe.
Oh, wow. So this is like right after he did like Scarface.
I think it's before Scarface. He did Carrie in 76. He did Sisters in 72. What did he do between those? Oh, Dress to Kill. I think it's a year after he did Dress to Kill. He did Dress to Kill in 1980. Scarface might have been a couple years after this one.
I can't wait to watch this one.
But yeah, I'm excited about it.
Is this a Thursday night show or is this a Sunday?
Yeah. This is next Thursday right here. Be there, be square.
Hell yeah, dude.
Looking forward to it. 9-panel grid. Mr. E saying De Palma Dutch angle shots for days. Dutch angles, split fucking cameras.
Yeah, I love.
I really do too. I'm a big fan. Even his movies that don't blow me away, I always enjoy watching them. The cinematography is always going to be a hot fire, and they're just they're interesting movies to watch. This is a cool one. I just checked it out for the first time a couple weeks ago. So what do we got coming up? PCP Movie Night Action Fest, the greatest action fest ever, continues Monday night with Blade. Hot diggity damn. Steph, you going to be there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, buddy. Nice. And he's also going to be on Supreme Clientele next Wednesday night. Last night, you guys had a terrific show until it was cut short when the power went out. But Steph was holding. I love how Steph's holding it down at the end. If I could go on a little bit longer, Steph's like, "Oh shit, I'm by myself." And he's like, "Okay, all right." He's going. He's like, "I'm gonna try and end this bitch." And then he starts flowing. And he's giving reviews. He's fucking doing the Stephanopoulos show until you show up and click and just fucking
dude. I just like I felt bad because I was like I gotta end the show, but I come through.
I was talking like
you were killing it.
Yeah, he was killing it, and like I was like, how am I gonna get on to in the broadcast, right? And so I'm like, all right, well, fuck it. My phone's got 1 bar service. So I get on. And he's like, yeah, and issue 3, I really liked it. I'm like, oh shit, he's kind of doing his thing. Like, do I cut it off or not?
I was like, what the fuck happened?
So my bad. I was like, dude, I was so upset at that moment that
we all go through it.
We didn't get to a couple of the comics I really wanted to, but yeah, Supreme Clientele every Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. on Dr. Doom's Fan Club. Me and my boy Steph
next week
talking about comics new and old. Yeah, we'll be back with a vengeance next week. So check us out. Also, I want to shout out my boy Fables this Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern. He's doing his UK Ireland massive special. Our boy Warren, who right there in the chats, will be on the show. Man, I can't wait. It's going to be so many amazing people from across the pond going to be on that one, as well as Steve, my boy Steve, Mark, a bunch of folks. So y'all tune in. I think it's Fable_1_collection_down on YouTube Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern time.
Hell yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be
fun. Man, that's going to be dope.
As we've been saying, subtitles may come in handy. They may be necessary. But again, I appreciate all you guys in the chat. It's been a great show. It's been a great chat. I really appreciate all you guys. And again, let me bring it up one more time. What do I got? Abigail, In a Violent Nature on Sunday. And then next Thursday, Brian De Palma's Blowout from 1981. Appreciate you. And we will see y'all next time.
That will be quite enough of that.